He orders champagne in first class while texting me to split groceries this month. I'm standing 3 rows behind the curtain, still clutching Avery's paw print backpack and a half-wrapped muffin. The aisle is frozen, while an older couple fusses with their overhead bin. I stare past their shoulders just enough to catch the shine of his flute glass and the unmistakable curl of his smile. He's already seated jacket off tray down, like this has always been his seat. The bubbles in his glass rise as he types one-handed. Can we hold off on groceries this week? Sent 10 minutes ago. Time-stamped. He's right there, and yet I feel 4,000 miles away. Avery tugs at my coat. Mom, are we sitting in the back again? Yep, I say. I'm trying not to grit my teeth. He'd offered to handle the check-in while I grabbed snacks for our daughter, said he knew the gate system better, said he'd print everything. What he didn't say, that he used our joint account to upgrade one ticket. His, not ours. I press my back into the seat as we settle in. Economy smells like barf and ambition. My knees touch the seat in front of me, and my elbow shares the armrest with a stranger who keeps sighing. Meanwhile, Marcus is up there, being served like a CEO who invented time. I married him when we had nothing, when he shared crackers with me in a Motel 6 after job interviews. Now he shares silence and excuses. I hold the phone where Avery can't see. I reread the message. Can we hold off on groceries this week? This morning he kissed me like he always does, quick perfunctory like clocking in, the goodbye of someone expecting no audit. But I'd already seen the charge last night listed under Signature Air Upgrade. 412.85 buys. Date matched. Location departure Terminal C. I hadn't said anything. I wanted to see if he'd own it. He didn't. The plane bumps upward. Avery leans into me. I close my eyes. The seat vibrates under my thigh. It's not the turbulence. It's fury. Every lie is harmless until it makes someone smaller in their own story. A flight attendant walks by offering sparkling water. I decline. I've tasted enough bitterness today. The curtain flutters as someone exits the front. He doesn't look back, doesn't glance, doesn't wave. Avery whispers, "Is Dad already eating?" I nod. Probably. Why didn't he wait? That question stays in the air like body heat. I reach for the backpack at my feet and zip it open slowly, pretending to search for something. Anything. I just need the moment, because I can feel it already, that subtle shift. The moment when a person stops being fooled and starts collecting proof, not for confrontation, for confirmation. You don't burn a marriage in public. You let it rot in privacy first. You wait, you gather, you calculate. I know what this is. I know what that upgrade meant. Not just the seat, not just the perks. It was a signal. He's been flying first class behind my back for a while. This wasn't his first glass of champagne. It was just the first one I decided to watch. He thinks this is about a seat. He's about to find out it's not. I'm Erica, 41, an accountant from Richmond, Virginia. 3 days before the flight, Marcus came home later than usual. He held a takeout bag in one hand, his phone in the other. "Figured you wouldn't feel like cooking," he said as if he'd saved the day. He'd been quiet all week, smiling too much when I asked, nothing brushing past me when I tried to bring up Avery's school forms. A softness that felt like misdirection, not affection. He tossed the takeout onto the kitchen island and walked straight to the bedroom. I checked the receipt sticking out of the stapled paper bag, grilled salmon, garlic, rice side salad with no dressing, Marcus's favorites. I didn't ask for any of it. I heated leftovers and fed Avery first. The next morning, he mentioned the conference. San Jose, he said casual. Could be fun. If you and Avery want to tag along, I can use some points. How many points, I asked. Enough. Don't worry. He said it too fast. The kind of deflection that makes you rewind a conversation in your mind before it's even over. We used to plan trips together, build spreadsheets, compare hotels, toggle seat maps like chessboards. Now it felt like I was a silent passenger on a flight I didn't book. That night, I opened the airline site, logged in. Nothing was under my name, but one ticket was confirmed under Marcus Denton First Class Seat 2A, non-refundable, paid in full, not points. I stared at the screen. My hand didn't shake. That surprised me. The next day, I let him do the booking for me and Avery. I got you both seats together, he said. You'll love the window. He didn't say what seat he'd be in. She looked at our tickets and frowned. His didn't match ours. That's what the check-in agent said, frowning at the printed passes as she handed them to me. I think one's missing, she added, checking her screen. He printed his separately, I said. Her brow twitched like she'd seen it before. I took the passes and moved aside. In the taxi to the airport, Marcus was all smiles. He scrolled through emails and tapped rapid-fire messages. Work stress, he claimed. Don't mind me, he said. We're lucky to get this time together. Avery asked him if we'd all sit near each other. Close enough, he replied. He reached over and touched my hand. Thanks for being flexible, babe. Flexible. I stared at the terminal sign outside my window. I knew how this was going to go. He was going to breeze past us, upgrade in silence, maybe even flash a tired smile at us from the gate. I'd act surprised. I'd ask just enough questions to let him lie. You don't catch someone by screaming. You catch them by listening longer than they think you will. At the baggage check, Marcus leaned toward the kiosk. Let me handle this, he said. Faster that way. I nodded, handed him my ID, and kept my voice low. He moved quickly, printed his boarding pass with a sleight of hand, then turned and handed me two others, mine and Avery's. No words, no eye contact. On the way to security, Avery noticed. Daddy's is shiny. She meant the boarding pass. Hers was on regular paper. His had a gold strip along the edge. I knelt beside her and fixed her hoodie. He must have printed his at work. Marcus was already moving ahead. He didn't look back. After security, he turned. You two want snacks? I'll meet you at the gate. He didn't wait for an answer. We found him 30 minutes later in the lounge behind the glass, sipping something amber and nodding into a phone. He gave a short wave like he barely recognized us. Avery reached for my hand. Why can't we go in there too? I swallowed the ache in my throat. We're not on the list, honey. She nodded like she understood, but her fingers gripped mine tighter. The woman behind the counter noticed it first. That wasn't an accident. The first time Marcus booked us a vacation, he triple-checked every detail. He was still unemployed then. We had to use a Groupon code and my old employee discount. I remember him printing the itinerary twice once for his wallet once to tape to the fridge. That man doesn't exist anymore. We boarded the plane through separate lines. He was already seated when Avery and I shuffled past the first-class cabin. He had a blanket on his lap and a steaming cup of something fancier than Coach would ever know. I tried not to stare. He looked up just as we passed. Smiled. Winked. Daddy has to work up front, he whispered to Avery. She nodded, half listening, already sleepy. He didn't offer to switch. He didn't even stand. I guided her down the aisle, pretending the tightness in my chest was about the luggage space running out. After the flight at the hotel, Marcus made an excuse to check in separately while I helped Avery with her shoes. He returned with one key card and handed it to me.
"Our room's ready," he said. "I had to talk to the front desk about an upgrade mix-up. You know how that goes."
I didn't answer. The room was modern and cold. Light wood, sharp corners. One bed. Avery took the side with the better view. Marcus's luggage was already in the closet. He took a shower humming, as if the flight had been refreshing, as if the tiny fracture hadn't widened into something wider than silence. While he was in the bathroom, I opened the minibar to grab a ginger ale for Avery. Inside was a wine glass with a dark red ring at the base and the faintest edge of lipstick. Not mine. I don't wear coral. I closed the door and didn't mention it. Marcus came out with a towel around his waist, drying his hair. "Didn't realize how dry the air was on that plane," he said. "Felt it in my skin." He slipped past me and opened his suitcase. A suit jacket, tie, polished shoes. I thought it was a relaxed panel. He saw me looking and shrugged. "Figured I'd dress up for the dinner tonight. Corporate heads might drop in." "Should we come?" He blinked. "It's kind of internal." Long, boring speeches. Then he kissed my forehead and left without asking if we needed dinner. He'd brought no takeout this time. Later that night, Avery fell asleep watching cartoons. I scrolled through the hotel TV system to check our folio. It was accessible through the remote. Marcus had forgotten to log out. 2 dinner charges under his room. Barrel and rye 2 guests, 100 for 60 ki. Room service filet plus bottle service, $89.75. Both dated the night before we flew out. We were still home. Betrayal doesn't always start with someone else. Sometimes it starts with pretending you didn't see it. I snapped a photo of the screen, not because I needed proof I already had enough, but because I needed to stop rewriting reality in his favor. It wasn't about the seat, or the wine, or even the lipstick. It was about erosion. The version of him I loved had been stripped away layer by layer until all that was left was comfort built on my silence. I checked the guest bill. His room charges were for 2. We packed early on the morning of our return flight. Avery folded her pajamas the way I taught her into a tight roll like cinnamon dough. Marcus didn't fold anything. He shoved socks into shoes, flung his blazer into the side of the carry-on zipped with a single arrogant tug. "You too good to head out by 7?" he asked, sliding his watch onto his wrist without looking at either of us. "Sure," I said. "I'll check us in." He froze for a second, then smiled. "I already did it last night. Just print the passes at the kiosk." "Yeah?" "Sure," I repeated. We walked through the hotel lobby like strangers. No luggage cart. No doorman offered to grab bags. Marcus walked ahead like a solo traveler with somewhere better to be. At the airport, he peeled off toward the priority kiosk. I headed toward the regular check-in. Avery clutched her stuffed tiger, the one she insisted on bringing, despite my warnings it might get lost. She dragged her tiny suitcase behind her like it weighed more than she did. A woman behind us coughed. A man dropped a bottle of soda. None of it broke my focus. The kiosk asked for our confirmation code. I typed it in. 2 names appeared, Erica Denton and Avery Denton. Coach. Back half of the plane. No Marcus. "Maybe his is separate," Avery asked, peeking up at me. "Maybe." When we approached the counter to print the physical boarding passes, the agent looked between the 3 of us. Traveling together. Yes. She printed 2 passes and handed them to me. Where's the third? I asked. The woman blinked. I only have these 2 listed on this record. Is someone else with you? My husband? I said slowly.
Marcus Denton. He checked in earlier.
The woman typed something, then frowned. Oh, he's checked in under a different fare class. You won't be seated together. I nodded. That's fine. Behind me, Avery whispered, Why is Daddy always in the fancy line? He travels a lot for work. I said more to the floor than to her. She didn't answer, but she knew. As we approached the TSA line, Marcus was already ahead, his boarding pass clutched in one hand, passport in the other, sleeves rolled just enough to show his watch, but not enough to seem like he tried. I watched him place his shoes into the bin, remove his laptop, and flash a brief smile at the officer. He moved like someone who expected the world to move out of his way. The line split halfway. One path curved toward general boarding. The other, shorter, led to the pre-check lane. He slid toward pre-check without hesitation.
See you at the gate,
he called over his shoulder. Avery waved.
I didn't.
We rejoined him 30 minutes later near gate B6. He was sipping a coffee in a branded cup I'd never seen before, probably from the lounge. He stood as we approached.
They've got massage chairs in there now,
he said casually.
Crazy, huh?
I didn't answer.
Want anything?
He added, tipping the cup toward the lounge entrance.
They might let you in if you smile.
I'm good, I replied. He laughed.
Suit yourself.
The speaker crackled above us. Boarding for Flight 1183 to Richmond will begin shortly. Priority passengers may now begin lining up at the gate. A man in a Navy uniform stepped forward.
Gate agent badge. Name tag Tobias Crane. Priority boarding, he repeated, lifting the mic again. Group 1, please proceed.
Marcus turned and handed Avery her bag.
I'll see you inside.
She hugged him. He tapped me lightly on the shoulder. Then he stepped into the priority line. Tobias scanned his ticket, paused.
You're traveling solo today?
He asked. Families in Coach Marcus said, nodding toward us. Tobias raised a brow.
Just wanted to confirm? Thanks, sir.
He scanned the pass and gestured him through. I caught Tobias's eye as Marcus disappeared through the jet bridge. For a second, he didn't look away. His gaze flicked from me to Avery to the empty space where Marcus had stood. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to, but something in his expression changed from protocol to pity. It only took one stranger's doubt to make the lie official. The gate area smelled like burned espresso and recycled air. Overhead, the intercom stuttered through other cities, Denver, Tampa, Charlotte, as our own flight to Richmond blinked in the corner of the screen like a countdown I wasn't ready for. Avery nestled her stuffed tiger into the crook of her arm and asked if we could get pretzels. I gave her a 5 and pointed her toward the convenience stand just across the aisle. I needed 30 seconds alone. Marcus had already boarded. Of course he had. He moved like someone with an invisible badge, a sense of clearance that went beyond his ticket. I scanned the room. Passengers shuffled in clumps. A crying baby screeched near the window. A man wearing sandals with socks dozed against a pillar. It was normal chaos except for the security camera blinking from above the gate. I watched the red light pulse steady as a heartbeat. I turned slightly and caught Tobias again. The gate agent. The same one who'd asked Marcus if he was traveling alone. Tobias was entering something into the terminal, his fingers moving fast. His jaw flexed. Then he stopped and glanced at me. Not rude. Not lingering, just long enough for me to know he remembered. When I stepped closer to throw away a used napkin, I caught the lower screen of the counter display. It showed a seating map coach in blue, first class in gold. I saw Marcus's name clearly in 2A. Then I saw a blinking note. Separate reservation detected. Same last name, S in main cabin. Tobias didn't say anything. He just looked at me and nodded once. A small motion. A courtesy. Maybe even solidarity. I took Avery's hand as she returned pretzels already opened. We joined the end of the line for Group 4. Did Daddy say he'd wait for us? She asked. No, I said. He didn't. We passed the boarding agent who barely looked at our passes before waving us through. The jet bridge was warm and stale. My shoes stuck to the mat with each step. As we approached the plane door, I glanced to the left. The curtain separating the cabins was still open. Marcus sat reclined, headphones on tray table down, sipping from a glass of something orange and frothy. His fingers drummed along his armrest. He didn't see us. The flight attendant greeted us without a smile. Coach is down this way, she said. We kept walking. Avery took the window seat and pressed her face to the scratched plastic. I stowed her bag above us, then mine. My hands were steady now. My stomach wasn't. I took out my phone. Tobias had seen the lie. Not all of it, but enough. It's strange how a stranger can confirm what your gut has screamed for weeks. It only took one stranger's doubt to make the lie official. That night, the hotel lights cast sharp lines across the ceiling, slicing it into soft rectangles as Avery slept beside me. The hum of the air unit clicked every 7 minutes. I lay still, fully clothed, phone balanced on my stomach, watching it glow. Marcus was in the shower. Steam had turned the mirror to fog. I could hear him humming barely some song from the 90s he played when he felt good about himself. I didn't feel anything. I opened our joint bank account. We'd set it up 6 years ago when we merged bills and debt and hope. The app took 6 seconds to load. Then everything appeared. Transaction ID. 7023442 Signature Air Upgrades. Date March 4th. Time 6:47 a.m. Amount $405.85. Merchant location Terminal C. Departure Gate 27. Memo. Client expense. Meal and lounge. Access. I stared at the screen for a long time, not because I was surprised, but because I wasn't. The charge matched the morning he'd told me the flight had been overbooked. The morning he acted like he'd pulled some kind of miracle getting us rebooked altogether. He said it like he was proud, like a hero. I clicked the transaction. The metadata showed it had been authorized in person, not reimbursed, not filed through his corporate card, not booked with points, just paid for, willingly, quietly. I took a screenshot and saved it to a locked folder. I labeled it Self-Exit Evidence. Marcus came out wrapped in a towel, shaking water from his ears like a Labrador. You asleep? He asked, as if I hadn't just opened a new chapter on our lives. I turned off the phone and rolled over. Almost. He slid into bed and kissed my shoulder. Long day. Tomorrow will be smoother. I let the silence answer for me. In the morning, he left early to get breakfast for everyone. When he returned, he had 1 paper cup of hotel coffee and a banana. He handed it to Avery and kissed her forehead. We'll grab something at the airport, he said to me. You know how I hate missing check-in. I nodded and tied my shoes slowly. Calculating. We arrived early again. Marcus veered off as usual, ducking toward pre-check. Avery and I waited in the long line. I didn't rush. I had what I needed now. On the plane, he didn't turn to wave. He had more miles than I had memories of us together. We landed at Richmond International in the late afternoon. Marcus powered down his phone with a dramatic sigh. "Finally home," he said, stretching like someone whose muscles had carried more than the truth. He offered to grab the car while I waited for baggage. Avery tugged on my hand. "Why don't we all ride together anymore?" "We do," I said. "Just not the same way." While he fetched the car, I pulled up the screenshot again. I looked at it like a trophy. Marcus had made a choice. Not once, but repeatedly. And he'd counted on my silence, on my loyalty, on my refusal to believe that love could shrink like a seat assignment. I wasn't going to confront him. Not yet, because confrontation centers the liar. I wasn't here to argue anymore. I was here to plan. I didn't tell him I'd seen it. Yet. Marcus made spaghetti that night. The kind with sauce from a jar and too much oregano. He wore that apron I bought him 2 Christmases ago, the one that says "Licensed to Grill" in faded yellow. He used to wear it like a joke. That night he wore it like armor. "You hungry?" he asked. I figured we could eat, talk, maybe decompress. I sat at the island staring at the single place setting he'd arranged for me. Avery was already in bed. She hadn't asked to sit with him when we got home. She just climbed the stairs, dragging her stuffed tiger by one ear. "Sure," I said. My voice came out smooth, cold. Marcus poured a glass of wine. Not for me. For him. He didn't ask if I wanted any. I think that was habit now. He twirled the noodles with a fork, plated them neatly, then slid the bowl in front of me. "You okay?" he asked, voice lower. "You've been kind of quiet." I looked at the pasta, then at him. "Long trip," I replied. "Yeah," he said, scratching the back of his neck. "Listen, I know the flights were a mess. I didn't mean to make you feel excluded. It's just, corporate perks are weird. Sometimes they comp one seat, sometimes none. You get how it is." He smiled like we were teammates. I nodded slowly. "That's all it was," he said, settling in across from me. "Just a seat." He said it like it hadn't been a decision. Like the miles hadn't been hoarded in secret. Like the upgrade hadn't been paid for in cash. Like he hadn't tried to erase the trail. "Did you enjoy the massage chair in the lounge?" I asked. He blinked. Yeah. Wait, how'd you... You mentioned it at the gate." I cut in. "To me." "Oh," he said, then laughed, awkward. "Right. I forgot I said that." He reached for his glass, took a sip. "You're good at remembering stuff." I twirled the spaghetti on my fork and lifted it without eating. "Marcus," I said quiet. "You don't need to explain anything." He looked up hopeful. "Really?" "Really?" I said. "I'm not confused." That made him pause. He sat back in his chair, glass half raised, suddenly unsure whether he was winning or losing. "You know, I appreciate you, right?" he said. "I don't say it enough." "You don't need to say it," I replied. "I already know where I stand." I carried the plate to the sink, dumped the untouched pasta into the disposal. "I'm tired," I said. "Lock up." "Yeah." Of course. He didn't follow me upstairs. The next morning, he kissed me on the temple as he left for work. "Text me if you want to do something for dinner," he said. "We could get sushi or..." I nodded without answering. He shut the door behind him. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was focused. I opened the file on my phone. The screenshot of the signature air charge stared back at me. Then I opened the Photos app, found the picture of the guest folio from the hotel, the one with the dinner for two, the bottle service, the one dated the night before our flight, each one labeled now Evidence 1A, 1B, 1C. I sat at my desk, opened a private tab, and searched for family law attorneys' Richmond Best reviews. 3 names came up. I picked the second. The woman had 187 reviews and a baritone kind of name, no frills, no soft vowels. Just letters that sounded like someone who didn't blink when you said the word separation. I sent a message through her contact form. Subject line: marital asset misuse. Ready to retain message. Not an emergency. Just a slow leak. I need advice, documentation support, and asset separation guidance. Discretion required. Timeline flexible, but soon. I signed it Erica Denton, CPA. Then I pressed send. He kissed me like nothing had changed. I let him. For now. 2 days after we got back, Rosa texted me. Not hey, not you, busy. Just a screenshot. Then another. Then a third. Girl. Is Marcus at gate 4? Look. I tapped the image. Instagram story, posted by @jules.jetset, timestamp 5 minutes ago. Caption: waiting with my favorite upgrade. #first class baby Marcus was in the frame. He wasn't looking at the camera, he was looking at her. The woman holding the phone wore gold bangles and a sleek leather jacket. Her reflection shimmered in the window behind him like a ghost with lipstick. Marcus sat at the bar, drink in hand. His mouth curled into a half-smile, his "I'm charming strangers" expression. I knew it. I'd seen it on business trips and Christmas parties long before I realized it wasn't meant for me. I tapped the username. The story was still live. Another photo followed Marcus's hand next to a boarding pass. First class, gate 4, flight to Dallas. The woman had tagged the location Reagan National Airport. It wasn't for work. He was supposed to be at his office wrapping a quarterly call. He lied about the destination. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that he looked relaxed, confident, untouched by consequence. He'd posted nothing on his own account. But hers was open, like she didn't fear being seen. Like she didn't even know he was hiding. He forgot one detail: people post everything when they're not afraid of being seen. I saved the story using a screen recording muted. Then I took screenshots and emailed them to myself with the subject line, Evidence number 2, social confirmation, @jules.jetset. I added a note for the attorney. Let me know if platform timestamps and public visibility count as admission of conduct. No written messages yet, just visual confirmation. I closed the app. Rosa texted again. I'm so sorry, Erica. Want me to say something? I stared at the screen for a while, then typed, don't engage. Just watch. She heart-reacted the message. That night, Marcus came home late, shirt untucked, no blazer, new cologne. He kissed me lightly on the cheek and said, long day. You good? I nodded. He didn't ask about my day, didn't ask what I'd done, just wandered toward the bedroom and said, think I'll crash early, got that thing in the morning. Flight to Dallas. I asked, not even turning. He paused. Nah. We pushed it. Next week, maybe. Right. He didn't hear the edge in my voice. Or maybe he did and chose to ignore it. Either way, I was done giving him the benefit of the doubt. Or the benefit of silence. I uploaded the video to a secure shared folder and added a second password. Label Denton divorce, Phase 1 digital record. He forgot one detail: people post everything when they're not afraid of being seen. On Saturday morning, I woke up early and changed the password to our cloud account. Not out of pettiness, out of practicality. All the photos of Avery, the preschool concerts, the beach trip in 21, her first lost tooth, they were under my email. But Marcus had full access. He'd synced it once to upload some vacation pictures, then never signed out. I checked the logs. Last activity, 3:42 p.m. Thursday, the same day he was sitting at Gate 4. I copied the photos into a private archive, encrypted it, and disabled his shared access. He wouldn't notice, not until he tried to use one of those pictures in another performance. That same morning, I cleared out the filing cabinet in the office. I moved my W-2s, our joint mortgage documents, and Avery's birth certificate into a fireproof folder and took it to the safety deposit box I'd opened 2 weeks earlier. The woman at the bank didn't ask why. She just smiled and said, "Everything okay, Mrs. Denton?" "Just getting organized," I replied. Which was true. I wasn't angry anymore. Not really. That part was over. There's a difference between fury and resolve. The first burns, the second sharpens. I'd been burned enough. That night, Marcus brought home Thai food. He set the table, poured wine into real glasses instead of the mismatched ones we used when company wasn't over. He even lit a candle, lavender, the one he said made his eyes itch. "Figured we could have a grown-up night," he said. "No laptops, no stress." I watched him unpack the containers, moving with the same precision he used when pitching clients, organized, measured, performative. "I've been thinking," he said, setting down the last plate. "We should take a trip. Just us." "Oh yeah. Leave Avery with my mom for a few days. Go somewhere sunny. Maybe Mexico." I tilted my head. "That sounds expensive." He smiled. "You deserve it. The gall. The goddamn gall." But I didn't say anything. I lifted my glass, held it halfway, and asked, "You think we're still us?" He blinked. "What do you mean, you?" "Me. Do you think we're still the same people we were when we started?" He laughed a little nervously. "Well, I hope we're not exactly the same. We've grown." "Have we?" I asked. He reached across the table and touched my hand. "Look, if this is about the seat." "It's not about the seat," I said too quietly to be interrupted. "It's about the story you built around it, and the fact that you assumed I wouldn't notice the cracks." He let go of my hand. "I was trying to make things easier," he said. "I never meant to hurt you." "You didn't mean to get caught," I corrected. The candle flickered between us. "I've been watching Marcus," I said calmly. "And I've been documenting." His face changed. Not alarm, not guilt, just the flicker of a man whose certainty begins to unravel. "I don't know what that means," he said. "You don't need to," I replied. "Not yet." Then I stood and collected the plates, scraped my barely touched curry into the trash, and ran the water like it was a lullaby. He didn't follow me. That night, I opened my laptop and created a folder called Denton Strategy Exit V1. Inside, I placed bank screenshot, evidence 1A, hotel charges, evidence 1B, Instagram story, capture, evidence 2, attorney contact sheet, doc checklist, asset division prep, shared calendar audit, flight versus meeting conflicts. I wasn't rushing, but I wasn't hesitating either. Avery would have a calm home. I would have a clean exit. Marcus would have consequences. I typed one final thing, plan trigger, first missed lie after warning, meaning. The next time he tried to lie, I wouldn't correct him. I would simply act. I didn't need revenge. I just needed the next missed lie. Monday morning, I left the dining room door half open while I printed Avery's school forms. Marcus was on a video call in the living room laptop, open voice smooth, leaning into the tone he reserved for clients and new mothers. I could hear every word. "I'll have the proposal by end of day," he said. "Just waiting on a few numbers from finance." Liar. He wasn't waiting on finance. He hadn't even logged into the dashboard that morning. I'd checked. He was repackaging old files, dressing them up with language, selling a delay. I walked into the room, dropped a manila folder on the console table behind him, and turned to leave. "Babe," he said, muting his call. "What's this calendar log?" I said over my shoulder. "I noticed the Dallas trip you told me didn't happen still shows in your emails travel tab. Just a heads up, you might want to clear that before your team asks why it pinged." I didn't turn around. I didn't have to. He didn't respond. I left the door open behind me a little wider than before. That was the leak. The first one. Not a scream. A breadcrumb. Let him panic. Let him wonder how much I knew. Let him spiral. Because I didn't need to catch him anymore. I wanted him to catch himself. That night he came to bed early. He lay on his back staring at the ceiling for 15 minutes before speaking. "Did you check my calendar?" he asked. "I just noticed the notification," I said. He rolled to face me. "Is this about the gate thing?" The upgrade, I turned to face him too. "No, Marcus," I said. "It's not about the gate. It never was." Then I clicked off the lamp and left him in the dark. The next morning, I found the kitchen suspiciously clean. Marcus had wiped the counters, emptied the dishwasher, packed Avery's lunch. There was a note in her bag. "Have a great day." Love, Dad. It wasn't guilt. It was fear, and I let it grow. Later that day, Rosa texted again. "Rosa." He blocked her on Instagram. The Jules girl. Deleted his LinkedIn header too. Me, thanks. Rosa. "You okay?" Me. "Getting there." Rosa. "Need anything?" Me, "Not yet, but soon." That afternoon, I received a reply from the attorney. Subject, RE, marital asset misuse. Ready to retain body, Ms. Denton. Thank you for your message. Yes. Metadata from social platforms, geo-tagged content, and inconsistencies in itinerary documentation are all admissible as evidence in early-stage filings. Based on what you've described, I recommend a preliminary consult within the next 10 business days to begin protective action planning, notifying financial institutions, securing custodial preferences, etc. Please reply with 3 dates that work for you. Best T. Brighton. I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. Then I sent 3 dates. All soon. That wasn't a threat. That was a date confirmation. I waited until Thursday. Marcus was due to leave town again this time, a summit in Atlanta. He packed his Navy carry-on, tossed in his cologne, and triple-checked the chargers. I watched him from the hall mirror. He didn't ask me to help. He never did anymore. "You'll hold down the fort?" he asked, slinging his jacket over his shoulder. I nodded. "We'll be fine." He smiled. "Text me if Avery gets sick or something. Or she'll be fine too." He kissed my cheek. I let him. His lips felt colder than the weather outside. After he left, I waited 15 minutes.
Then I called the airline. Hi, yes, I need to confirm a seat reservation. My husband's ticket shows first class, but he's insisting it was booked in economy and then got upgraded automatically. Just want to clear the air before we argue about it. The agent on the other end was polite. Name and booking number I gave both. She checked. Yes, he's booked in first. Paid fare. Seat 1B. No points. No, ma'am. Looks like this was purchased as a separate fare class. Got it. Thanks. I didn't record the call. I didn't need to. That wasn't for court. That was for me. I sat down at my desk and opened the folder labeled Denton Strategy Exit V1. Then I saved a new document, Final Trigger 1B. I emailed Brighton, the attorney, with the subject line, confirm, proceed with filing, no emotion. No flair, just confirmation. At 4:16 p.m., Marcus called from the lounge. I let it go to voicemail. Then I texted, your firm should expect contact from my attorney this week. All next steps will go through counsel. I won't be discussing this further directly. Erica. He didn't reply. He called again. Twice. By the time he landed in Atlanta, I'd already removed his name from our joint checking account and moved Avery's school registration under my maiden name as an alternate guardian. I sent a notarized letter to the school. At 6:45 p.m., I changed the locks. He didn't have a key to the new deadbolt. I didn't do it for revenge. I did it because power unclaimed is power surrendered. He had chosen to lie in comfort. I chose to live in clarity. He flew first class to Atlanta. I flew first class out of our marriage. It's been 4 weeks since the attorney filed the first round of paperwork. Marcus responded with the expected mix of indignation and delay. He wanted to talk privately, meet for coffee, keep things civil for Avery. I declined. Politely. Formally. Through Brighton's office. The script he wrote didn't work anymore, not on me, not even on himself. Last week, he dropped off Avery outside the school instead of walking her to the door. That was new. He used to make a performance of it, high fives, backpack adjustments, tying her shoes too tightly just to say he tried, but now he stayed in the car. She climbed out alone and walked toward me like a soldier, brave, quiet. I held her hand and asked, "You okay?" She nodded. He doesn't talk much. I didn't press. I just squeezed her fingers gently and walked her to class. Later that afternoon, I stopped by the grocery store. I stood in the soup aisle comparing labels when someone called my name. Erica. I turned. Tobias Crane, the gate agent. From the airport. The one who saw Marcus board alone. He wore jeans and a charcoal fleece holding a basket of almond milk and kale chips. Tobias, I said. Wow. He smiled, but with a tinge of discomfort. Didn't mean to startle you. No, it's okay. We stood there a second. Then he nodded toward the shelves. Better soup at Weaver's downtown if you're into homemade. I'll check it out, I said. He shifted his weight. I remember you. From the boarding line. I remember you too. He hesitated. You looked strong that day, but also tired. I let the silence land. Then I said, that day changed more than just my seat assignment. He nodded slowly. You looked like someone getting ready to leave the version of herself that kept apologizing. I didn't respond, but I smiled because he was right. That night, after Avery went to bed, I made tea and opened my laptop. No folders, no evidence this time. Just a clean document. Top of the page, what I gave up to stay quiet beneath it. Leg room. My name on the reservation. Dinner for two without me.
a daughter's trust, an identity. The version of myself who whispered, "Maybe next time." Then I opened another page. Title, What I Got Back. And I started to write. Not for court, for myself. You looked like someone getting ready to leave the version of herself that kept apologizing. I didn't win back a man. I reclaimed the woman who stopped asking for a seat.